Hey everybody, Twisty B here. Today I'm going to show you on my arcade system a game called F-Zero GX. Originally the game came out on GameCube, and when it came out it had a arcade version, F-Zero FX, that would let you take your game saves and your ships that you could upgrade in the home console version and play them on the arcade version. And it was a pretty neat feature back in the day, and if I remember correctly, I do believe that Mario Kart Double Dash does the same thing. But we're going to go ahead and go on into this. This is on the arcade machine that I've built, and this is actually going to be my first video showing off just some of the games. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Hit start. Before we do anything else, the first thing I would recommend doing is going to options and then customizing them, because the control scheme that's originally on it, the default one, it doesn't really fit the arcade stick very well. So I had to kind of go in and make some subtle changes, and I had to do a few run-throughs before I kind of got it right. So I'm going to show you my control scheme. Now, it doesn't have to be yours. I just found this to be the most, I'd say the easiest as far as when you play. Initially, it's going to have, you know, the buttons are all going to be preset. What you'll want to do is go in and change your slide left and right, because what happens is when you play with the default scheme, the left and right are on these two N buttons, which wouldn't be a big deal except that the buttons are reversed on the GameCube controls. So this button right here is left and this button is right. So you would think that the lower button would be right and you would hit it and you'd veer left. And that kept throwing me off in races, so I had to come in and change that. So what I did is I switched it to X and Y, which are these two top buttons right here. And these two buttons, along with the accelerate and the brake right underneath it, it's a much more comfortable feel. And especially when you're in the middle of the race and you're not really thinking, you just want your controls to work, I found it to work much better. And you'd be surprised how much you use that hard left and that hard right. And then for everything else, center of gravity, you can just leave it that. And in order to use that while you're racing and you hit a jump, you just push up or down on the stick. Adjust view, because the controller doesn't have, or because the arcade stick doesn't have a D-pad setting without having to go in and take away the stick setting, you just don't ever mess with it. I guess you could change it real quick before the race by hitting the modifier and then the Y button, which is in the middle, and then hit up real quick and then hit the modifier and the Y button again. But for the most part, I don't think anybody's really gonna miss it. Okay, here's what I would do as far as your gas and your brake and everything else. Switch your accelerate, which is initially on the A button, which is in the middle. I switched it over to B, which is closest to the stick, and that felt more natural to me, just in a natural progression of how things would flow when you're in the middle of the game. So I swapped A for B and B for A. So air brake is switched over to A. And surprisingly, I don't use it a lot. I'm sure some people might if you use the brake in the game. If I have to do anything, I just let off the gas for a second. Your side attack and your spin attack both are set to X and Y natively. What I would do, depending on what kind of attack you like better, you can switch them to L and R and take away from the slide left and slide right. Like I said, it just depends on which attack you like better. Personally, I like the spin attack, but the drawbacks to that is that it'll slow you down in a race. And so, you just play with it and see which one that you like better. And then finally, the boost button. Make sure the boost button is on the Z button, because the Z button on the GameCube controls are on the bottom, and that puts them right underneath the gas and the brake. And so when you're playing and you're using your pointer finger for the acceleration, your thumb sits right on top of the boost, and that is the best way that I found to play it, because you will use the boost a lot. Okay, and if you're doing this and you're doing it two-player, make sure you go in and you change the control settings on it too. You'll do that by, when it says customize the controller, just hit the A button or the middle button on the second player controls, and it'll bring those up. And as you can see, I moved all those around too, so that everyone played evenly. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and back out. We're going to go into just one race, just so I can kind of show you how it is, and we'll do Grand Prix. As you can see, when you start off, you don't really have anything. This is one of those that you can progress through the story. So if you have a Wii or a GameCube hooked up to a TV, I would suggest doing it on there. I mean, you could do it on the controls, but I feel like you could get more accomplished in a setting doing it in front of the TV than doing it on here. This is more for when you have people over. Alright, we're going to go to Mute City. Now, a lot of people don't know about this F-Zero game is that Sega actually headed the development on it. It was one of the first few games that Nintendo and Sega kind of worked together on, and so it actually really shows, and you can even see it whenever you play Sonic Riders, that the amount of speed and the way the controls are very similar. As you can see with the stick, you kind of just have to make some minor adjustments, and I end up using the L and R slides really just a lot. It helps you make those just minute adjustments to kind of, you know, if you miss the boost pad, you can slide over real quick and hit it. And there's just so much chaos going on, I don't have time really to hit and try to do an attack button. And you see on lap 2, you gain the boost ability, and that's when your boost really pays off for having it right there underneath your acceleration, because you can just keep hammering it with your B button. Or your thumb, sorry. But keep in mind, every time that you do boost, it does take away energy from your health meter. So you need to watch carefully how many times you're doing it. You always want to make sure to know where your energy replenishments are. Like I know one's coming up just over this jump. Make sure you hit that, because you see I'm almost out right there. Hit that, replenish, and boost a couple of times while you're in it, and your energy won't go down. And that'll give you kind of a lead. And there you go, just like that, it's over. Alright, well there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. This is my first video. I hope to do some more, so if you guys got any games that you would like to see played on arcade and played with arcade controls, and just my opinion on how well they play, feel free to comment and let me know. I've enjoyed doing it. I've done probably about 9 takes to get this one right, so let me know how I did. I plan on trying to do some more. You know, I know the quality's not very good. But thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon.